For now, we'll take you to New York and Dan Rather.
Showtime in Philadelphia. The tickets on sale. Opening night for the Republican convention. A big money push for Bush infomercial inside, free speech outside, and new Democratic anti-Bush ads on the air as the nominee in waiting campaigns his way to Philly. An exclusive interview with his wife, and the latest on Fire Run Wild in the West.
This is the CBS Evening News, with Dan Rather reporting from the Republican National Convention in Philadelphia.
Good evening. Republicans tonight open a $60 million plus show emphasizing television imagery and the politics of pleasantry. Much of the money comes from big corporations and other special interests. The same will be true of the Democratic convention to follow in Los Angeles. But this is the Republicans' opening night, featuring a tightly targeted star power speech later by retired General Colin Powell. Total objective, market the ticket to minorities, moms, and moderates. President Clinton was point man today for the Democrats' counter message of, forget what they say, watch what they do, and check their record. Candidate Bush is campaigning his way to the convention. CBS's Bill Whitaker is with him and begins our coverage.
George W. Bush sent his wife Laura off to the Philadelphia convention today, while he continued his assault on traditional Democratic turf, buoyed by big crowds and polls that are up since his selection of running mate Dick Cheney. Today, he rolled through Ohio.
We're on a mission. We're on our way to the convention, and we're on our way to victory here in the state of Ohio.
A claim he's made in Arkansas, Missouri, slogging through Kentucky, and now Ohio. States that voted twice for President Bill Clinton. States where Bush now is ahead in the polls.
The polls may look good today. That's the good news. The bad news is the election isn't tomorrow. We got a lot of work to do, and I'm looking forward to doing the work. We're going to knock down.
He says he's not ceding one vote to the Democrats, and the Democrats aren't ceding the moment to him. They're running ads in 17 states criticizing Bush's Texas record on the environment and child care, even as the GOP gets down to convention business.
George W. Bush opposed health coverage for 200,000 more children.
The Bush camp calls them attacks of desperation.
Since Vice President Gore has been on the road trying to, in his eighth reinvention of his campaign, trying to attack the governor's record in Texas, his polls have been dropping. And so if he wants to continue to drop in the polls, we urge him to continue these highly partisan attacks.
Now, Hughes maintains that Bush won't strike first, but if attacked, he will hit back. And if the Democrats choose to make the governor's record an issue, she says, then Al Gore's long political record is certainly fair game. Dan?
Bill Whitaker. There was a flare-up today on an election year issue for millions of older Americans. It's a new study that finds prescription drug prices for seniors doubled in the past 8 years. In a speech in Florida today, President Clinton punched up the big difference, as he sees it, between what Republicans and Democrats propose to do about it. CBS's Byron Pitts has the facts, medical, financial, and political.
With his political enemies in Philadelphia, President Clinton went on the attack in Tampa. His target, the Republican prescription drug plan. His weapon of choice, an 81-year-old woman with a broken nose and a heart condition. Sylvia Kessler says she's been forced to work 2 jobs just to pay for her medications.
I think it's a bunch of baloney, and I know that America can do better.
She took the first shot, then the president took his.
Too many people literally are forced to choose on a weekly basis between filling their prescriptions and filling their grocery carts.
Mr. Clinton and the Democrats would like to add prescription drug benefits to Medicare. Republicans in Congress disagree and passed their own plan last month. Meantime, a study released today shows Americans 65 and over have seen a drastic jump in prescription drug cost, from an average of $559 a year in 1992 to a current rate of $1,205.
If prices continue to skyrocket and the number of prescriptions continue to increase, it means that seniors will find drugs unaffordable and their lives and their health will be in jeopardy.
The industry argues prescription drugs are still cheaper than surgery.
today, medicines are often the most effective and cost-effective treatment for many patients.
While Medicare and prescription drugs are becoming hot topics on the race to the White House, it's been a hard road for senior citizens for a long time. Older Americans account for only 13% of the nation's population, but they pay 42% of every dollar spent on prescription drugs. Thus far, Democrats nor Republicans have found a magic pill for that ailment. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Atlanta.
For added insight on this healthcare issue, a CBS News New York Times survey finds 69% of Republican voters support the Bush prescription drug plan that the president laced into today. But only 37% of the Republican delegates here are willing to go even as far as the Bush plan. And just 3% of the delegates say health care is the top issue this year. 60 Minutes man Ed Bradley is on the convention floor covering the delegates. Ed Bradley, what else can you tell us about these delegates?
Dan, if you used a broad brush to paint these delegates, you'd say they're overwhelmingly conservative, white, and well off. About a quarter of them admit that they are millionaires. Fewer than 10% say their family income is under $50,000 a year. They're also very religious, but in a personal way rather than in an organized political sense. 76% say that religion is very important in their daily lives, but there are fewer delegates here connected to conservative religious groups than 4 years ago. Where do they stand on the issues? They support the death penalty for convicted murderers. More than half of them keep a gun at home. 2/3 have a favorable opinion of the National Rifle Association. And what should be done with the budget surplus? How about a tax cut? For every delegate who wants to spend that money on preserving Medicare or Social Security, 3 want a tax cut. Finally, Dan, and perhaps most important, these delegates are enthusiastic and confident. Unlike 4 years ago, they believe they will win the White House in November.
Ed Bradley, thanks. Just about every aspect of this convention extravaganza emphasizes positive images and messages. Delegates have no real decisions to make here. They won't at the Democratic convention either. They, in effect, make up a cast of thousands of extras for the television show. Bob Schieffer is in the podium zone of what the Republicans hope is a convention that ensures a win in November. Bob?
Well, Dan, the Republicans have designed a tightly controlled convention to showcase George Bush's compassionate conservatism. There will be a heavy emphasis on diversity and inclusiveness. From the Pledge of Allegiance, which was led by a blind mountain climber,
I pledge allegiance to the flag,
to the national anthem, which was sung by an African American, every event underlined that theme, a friendlier party trying to reach out.
Today begins day one of the Bush-Cheney era.
And did we mention an emphasis on sticking to the script?
Today begins day one of the Bush-Cheney era.
George Bush wanted no trouble and got his wish. Even the party platform, which usually sparks some controversy, produced none.
We've produced a platform that will help him win.
In fact, the platform lays out many of the same positions as years past, including adamant opposition to abortion, but the harsh language has been toned down. Vice presidential nominee Dick Cheney has been getting tough questions from reporters about his congressional voting record, but was cheered when he showed up to see Bush officially nominated.
I proudly place the name of the current governor of the great state of Texas and the next president of the United States in the nomination, George W. Bush.
Meantime, tonight's featured speakers, Bush's wife Laura and Colin Powell, were in the hall early to check it out. Even for the sound check, Powell stuck to a safe, time-tested theme.
Bush scored 7 years ago.
Well, that, of course, was just a test. We expect him to update that tonight.
Bob Schieffer, thanks. Coming up next here on the CBS Evening News from Philadelphia, fire on the mountain and in the valley, too. Dozens of wildfires scorch the bone-dry West. And convention close-up. Laura Bush joins me, Ed Bradley, and Gloria Borgia for a relaxed, candid interview.